That's funny.
Yeah.
Do you remember Tom Carvel?
Do I what?
Remember Tom Carvel?
I don't know Tom Carvel. No, I know.
Okay. I'm only kidding because that's the ad, but
Funny.
he
Yeah.
actually started in Yonkers, New York.
Nothing like Carvel. I don't know why there were so few. They're almost extinct, really. There's only one that I know of. And
There's one here too.
Like that. Yeah. Myrna, where do you live?
where do I live? I live in Boca Raton, Florida.
Ah, okay.
How about you, Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn. Brooklyn, New York.
Very apropos. Okay, get it. And that's how you differentiate your name between Lynn and Brooklyn. So now I know why.
Rico named me.
Who named you?
Rico.
Oh, really? Oh.
Rico named me Brooklyn.
I think it should.
What
It probably stuck, right? Did it stick? Yeah. I like it. I really do.
I thought it was Lynn who named you. No.
No, it was
No.
not me.
Okay. All
No.
right.
It was
Okay.
Rico. And yeah, so sometimes when I'm talking to Don Randy, I'm like, well, Brooklyn, and he's like, Brooklyn? I'm like, oh yeah, you call her Lynn, but we call her Brooklyn. She's
See, the thing with ice cream is you don't have to be hungry to eat ice cream, right? You don't need to be hungry for that. It's good anytime. So yeah, I'm a fan of ice cream.
I like the Baskin Robbins non-dairy.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my goodness. Cherries with big chunks of chocolate. Cherry Garcia.
Yep, I love that too. Yep.
It's made with almond milk.
Brooklyn.
Sounds wonderful, actually.
All right, you guys. Well, it's so beautiful to see you all here in our lovely talk of ice cream and just the beautiful things of life, how wonderful our lives are and how joyful. I mean, for me, I'm just a happy person because it's like everything is just so wonderful for me. I have a beautiful, just even when things are not good and I'm not feeling well and whatever, I'm still really happy. And I honestly believe that, A Course in Miracles, we were talking earlier in a kind of live streaming now, but talking about being in a state of mind where you needed something like, a tranquilizer, or they don't call them tranquilizers anymore, but some kind of, something to make you feel better. And, since I've been really into A Course in Miracles and practicing forgiveness, I haven't been feeling bad. And when I do feel bad, I just, forgive. I recognize, oh, I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. And I can always decide different because I made that decision in the first place myself. So what a wonderful gift this course is, of shifting our minds, and shifting the way we think and see things, and shifting the way that we respond when something seems to go wrong. I mean, I always find it just so fascinating to look at, think about how I was always just so hurt and angry about things. And now I look at it and think, why did I think that was personal? Or why did I take these things so personal? And, it's just a beautiful gift not to have to do that anymore, and to actually see that, I have a choice. And a lot of times I think what happens, and I don't know why I feel like saying this, but a lot of times because the society and the culture, movies, books, things that we've read in stories tells us that you should behave a certain way if something happens. So if your boyfriend breaks up with you, you should be upset, sad, whatever, you should retaliate, get back, you know, put out all his faults on the internet, let everybody know what a jerk he is. You know, this is what society, we see it happening over and over and over. Society tells you this is the way to respond when something doesn't go the way you like it. And when you like study A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles is saying, you know, you just forgive it and go on, you know, just let go and go on. And realizing that I have a choice and I don't have to act the way my mom or my sisters or, you know, people in TV and movies act. In fact, that's really bad advice for people, you know, telling, you know, people you really need to get back at people who hurt you or whatever. It takes away your power, and you're not able then to be happy because you're being angry or vengeful or afraid. So
We
the
we were
course
absolutely, I'm sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go
We
ahead,
were
Zane.
absolutely lied to by, across the board, and we believed it, and we really believed that we didn't have a choice. I mean, I was talking for myself, but I really thought what I was brought up with in this society was true, and I believed it. I didn't know I had a choice, that I could decide for myself whether I wanted to believe it or not. It was like when I got that there's either love or fear, that really simplified it for me, and I could break things down and realize that I had a choice to make. And society does not want you to know that, or the ego, whatever. That's its game. Don't let them know that they have a choice.
Right. And the choice that they let you know that you have is one of completely inappropriate reactions.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I see it all the time every day. I'm like, videos and stories about, she found out her boyfriend was cheating on her, so she went and had a cement truck fill his car up with cement, or, I mean, and people are going, yay, good for you,
Yep.
girl. And you're like, what's the good about any of that? What's good?
Yeah.
Just say, hey, you know what? You like somebody else? Fine, go for her. I'm not, you ain't hurting my feelings because, it reflects nothing on me,
The world really is a slaughterhouse. It really is. Yeah. Very subtle, but we're always cheering for the guy to get, hammered or hurt or whatever. Yeah.
I know, it's just craziness. I don't understand, but that's hey, let me get this. I'm trying to get our book open here and find out that I have put another page on. Let's see.
I dated a bigamist once. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the deal? I mean, so he loved more than one woman.
Well, he snuck out on everybody.
That's the problem, is the sneaky.
Yeah.
And why does he have to be sneaky? Because I am being judgmental about, about what he's doing. I think I have some kind of control over what another person is doing.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Some control.
Well, I was angry at the time, but now when I think about him, I think about when we first met, and he said that song that Neil Diamond sung about Sweet Caroline. He says that I reminded him of Sweet Caroline. So that's all I'm taking with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what does it matter?
Yeah.
I mean, when my husband fell in love with another woman, I was upset, but then I realized it's love. What can I say about that? It's none of my business. And it doesn't reflect on me because he still loves me. He just loves somebody else too. It took a while. That was what took a while, was to get to that, to recognizing that was, what do I care? It has nothing to do with me. It's not my business. Nicole,
Lenny.
go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, well, isn't it a complete illusion that we only love one person? Like that's crazy. And also that the biggest thing is in order to exit relationships, the ego belief system often has us believing that we've got to not love them anymore. So we use grievance as a means or method to separate ourselves from our exes.
Yeah, to justify our loveless behavior.
Yeah, or just because we think that if you love them, you wouldn't leave because of this illusion that you love one person, which is just not true,
That's your relationship.
Yeah. That's true, Nicole. The thing that's so cool about it is, we are not meant to love just one person. We're meant to love all people because we're all this is us. So
Yeah.
in reality, all of these little relationships that really bring walls between us are causing more sadness in the world. I mean, instead of just loving someone and then loving whomever, and people think, you can't love everybody. Yes, you can. And does love you go to sleep, you go to bed with them? No. Does love mean, you give them everything you own? No. Love means you love them, and those conditions have nothing to do with it. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
And loving is accepting everybody for who we are. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you know somebody, you can't help but love them.
Mhm.
That's the beauty of it. If you really know somebody, you can't help but love them because that's our nature. So it's harder not to love everyone than it is to love everyone. Anyway, all right. We have not gotten through this, our psychic powers desirable, and I was thinking about just going on, and Rafi has his hand up. So I want, Rafi, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of the confusion with love comes from people think love is a feeling because they feel it. But love is the state of being. And that's the difference. But because the mind interprets everything, so, well, I feel, okay, I'm feeling loving, so love must be a feeling. Feelings and the state of being, not the same. State of being is reality. Feelings are just things that come and go.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Rafi. Because like feelings are like the clouds going across the sky. And you can, and yes, you can use your feelings. Jesus even tells that, tells us that in the course. If you wonder if you're doing this right, ask yourself, how do I feel? And then you can see by the way you feel whether you're doing it right. And if you're feeling upset and afraid, then you need to forgive something. Nicole, please go ahead.
I was just thinking about the Song of Prayer, and I was thinking about feeling communion, right? The awareness of love's presence, and feeling can be involved when it comes to the awareness of love's presence, when we get us into that state of seeing and vision and gratitude and joy and unspeakable joy and, that kind of thing. It is very includes that feeling communion of connection and oneness and or glimpsing the Christ in our brother and that feeling of love. And I think that what we call love when we fall in love is little glimpses of that where we're feeling that, but then we go and write a story about it and turn it into some special thing. Whereas really it's just we've opened ourselves enough to be able to be willing to actually see that one and tune into that feeling communion with them, allowing that song.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Dove. Mwah. Belingo. How you going, Dove?
Oh, I was talking to my dog, Happy. I was telling him I'll take him out later.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hi, Lynn.
Yeah, I got kicked out, so I'm not putting on my camera. because apparently it didn't like my computer, didn't like that. Go ahead, Brooklyn.
I just want to say in AA, feelings are not facts. But like today, I was feeling like so shaky. And I thought, I practice telling myself what I tell other people, use everything, use everything, right? So that
Right.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah, and just recognize, if you're feeling anything that doesn't feel particularly happy or good or joyful or whatever, then there's something to choose again. Anybody who knows the work of Diedrich Welsack and choose again, that's really kind of all the thing that, obvious it's called choose again, but in that work, what they do is they go back into your, like, okay, so right now I'm feeling I don't know, I'm feeling unworthy, I'm feeling like I'm not a good enough person because my computer kicked me out and I'm not I can't have my camera on now. And so what the choose again work would say was, well, when was the first time that you felt that way? And you think back in your life to, for me, when I was a little child and maybe, something I thought I was doing right, it turned out I was doing wrong. And, people were disappointed in me and I felt, bad about myself. And I thought it was my fault that I was a bad person or, those kind of thoughts. And the question is always, well, you were a little child when this happened. And you use this to form an opinion about yourself and what kind of a person you were. And was that true? Were you a bad kid because you didn't do the dishes good enough for your mom, or were you a bad kid because you dropped the plate on the floor and broke it? And then you'd have to say, well, no, I wasn't a bad kid about that, but now I'm still in my life carrying that same shame that was stirred up when that thing happened. And when you can go back and look at where the genesis of that shameful feeling came from and recognize that you were not at fault, it had nothing to do with you, then you can really just let it go. And I know there's Rafi has the not the infinite way, but the Lester Levinson work about can you let it go? Can you release that? Can you let it go? And really you can let it go if you're not still believing that you are that bad kid who broke your mama's dish. So that's you have to recognize, well, this came from a place where I was not in control of anything. I was 4 years old. How could I have done something, and you can look and see how innocent you really were and remember that you're innocent. So that's another way of letting go of those feelings about yourself.
Um,
I think Lenny was thrown off.
yeah, I think so. I don't hear you. What happened to Lynn?
Hi, Lenny.
Well, then my whole computer shut down.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
Did everybody go? Is everybody gone? Or let's see. Oh no, we're all still here. All right. Oh, I'm going to reclaim the host. There we go. Okay. All right. So Myrna has her hand up and Brooklyn has her hand up. Oh, and I need to turn the sound back up now.
Okay. Well, Dove just posted something about lucid dreaming. And this morning I was talking to Dove and I just happened to mention, and I haven't mentioned this to anyone really, but I have the worst dreams. I mean, during the day I'm fine and I feel that I'm really, I'm exercising my power to feel good about myself and about the world, but my dreams are the worst. I mean, I really don't even want to go to sleep because I know I'm going to dream. And I was talking to Dove about that, and we were talking a little bit about lucid dreaming. Does anybody? I mean, I have the worst dreams. I have nightmares practically every single night, and I don't know where that really is coming from. And it seems to be getting worse. And I want to share that because it's disturbing, really. I wake up and I go, why did I dream that? I mean, it's blood and guts. I mean, that's what really seems to be the focus of my dreams. Just wondered if anybody has anything to say regard to that. Did I journal that? No, I haven't. I asked Jesus, but haven't really, gotten any kind of anything back about that.
I just have something to say about that, because not because of any reason other than I know that if I have an experience, it's something that I can forgive. And so, to look at it and, you don't have to ask, why am I dreaming about horrific things happening? It's because there's an undercurrent in your subconscious mind of fear and sad things happening. So, maybe if you just practice, maybe like Ho'oponopono or something, to practice forgiveness of that, wait before you go to bed at night, ask the Holy Spirit, give me the experiences that I need to forgive in order to, wake up from this dream and then look at those experiences as being, you're being shown something in your mind that needs to be forgiven, and practice it with Jesus. I mean, I'm sure you probably do something of that nature anyway, but those are just some thoughts I have. And Rafi has his hand up and so does Nicole. So Rafi, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think Lynn covered it beautifully. There's just one thing I'd like to add to that, and that the closer we get to what you call atonement or we call self-realization or whatever, the harder the mind is going to fight because it doesn't want to be eliminated. Even though it's an illusion, it still doesn't want to be eliminated. And it's going to throw out all of that stuff that's in your subconscious. It's throwing it up there to get you to believe that you are what you think you are or what it thinks you are instead of what you really are. And so, like Lynn caught it, I think, beautifully. And that one more aspect of it, you're a lot closer to that transcendent place than your mind is going to admit to, because it has no idea what it is in the first place. But what can I say? Well done. Keep at it. Let it do its thing. But like Lynn said, you don't have to investigate it. You don't have to go through it. It's just that stuff that's coming up. It was stuck there in your subconscious, and now it's go good. Now let it go.
Yeah, I want to tell you, thank you for that, Rafi, because that's exactly what was going through my mind. Like, why now when I'm the best I've ever been? I feel, as if I'm on a great path, and I'm certainly never going to, go back to where I was, before I started my path to recognition of, the truth of who I am, all that stuff that we talk about. Why now? But then I do believe, as you say, that I think that my mind, my ego is fighting however it can to keep me in that state of mind, and I have thought of that. So I'm glad that you kind of in a way agreed with what was going on, with my thoughts about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Myrna. Yeah, that's beautiful. Nicole, please.
Um, not disagreeing in any way with that, but I just to provide another take on that, I've had a lot of the same stuff, like crazy shit dreams, like really fucking insane stuff, right? Coming up. And was wondering what is going on here, right? Okay, and realize that the sub, you know, if you look at it from another situation, when we've chosen atonement, right? Okay, we have these edges, we have beliefs, world beliefs, beliefs that things we've projected on the world, conclusions we've drawn, that we've made, that we project onto the world. And we may project it onto the so-called unspiritual ones, or the ones who haven't chose to awaken yet, or the ones who've forgotten who they are, the ones that forgive them for they, you know, all these kind of thing that we've projected onto the world. And maybe conclusions we drew when we were a child, you know, like I experienced when I was very young, you know, domestic violence that took place between my mum and my dad, and it was pretty full on when I was very, very young. And I drew conclusions from those events and I projected them onto the world, which is the reason why I would, you know, lock my door or be a bit wary when I was walking in certain places. And it's not that that's wrong, but when we have chosen atonement and we've chosen to want to see above all else and let go of those conclusions, they come up. The ones we've forgotten we've made, there might be decisions we've made, conclusions we've drawn, we've forgotten that we've made, that have just kind of blended into the writing on our wall. So losing the world from all we thought it was is part of that. That's become part of our illusions of a world. And I think those dreams help us to, they provide opportunity for us. And I think that's where it's a good opportunity for us to connect in with the Holy Spirit, making space for breathing, just inviting the Holy Spirit in to replace those conclusions we've made and decisions we made that we may not even agree with now, but ones that have just become kind of in the subconscious or just background noise going on. I think it's an opportunity to forgive. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, I have a horrific dream when I turn on the news. And you know, I think about, you know, every time I see something, you know, I mean, there's horrific things happening in the world, and that's just as much of a dream as what happens to me at night when I'm sleeping. I don't have dreams and I don't remember dreams. So, you know, that's maybe I'm really lucky that way. But I don't know what goes on when I'm sleeping. And I almost think maybe I just don't exist. Like I don't exist at that point. Because when I'm blinking out of existence and I blink back in existence when I wake up in the morning. I don't know. Oh yeah, and Glorian says her dreams usually relate. Let me read this. Relate to what's going on in her life, or dreams of prophecy, or it could be unresolved guilt presenting it so you can forgive it. And that's for me. I don't even think that it's so much even my guilt, because I look at the same thing when I look at the news. You know, I can sit here and watch the news and practice forgiveness. You know, I can sit here and watch, you know, the war or, you know, what politicians are doing or all kinds of things and practice forgiveness. I don't have to be dragged into it and become emotional and have feelings about it. I can actually look into it with an objective mind, knowing that whatever it is I'm seeing is being shown to me so that I can, you know, forgive it, learn something about my own thinking and let it go. So, anyway, okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at our book. And I was going to move on, like I said, but I started looking at this and thinking of, I just wanted to reread paragraph. There's three more paragraphs here. And I think it's really, now that I've looked at it again, I think it's really important that we think about what Jesus is telling us in this section about psychic powers, because he's really talking to us about powers that we actually do have, that seem to be quote unquote powers, but are actually natural. Naturally, we do know what's going on. Naturally, we can see the reality of what's here. Naturally, we can know what others are thinking. There are no private thoughts. And so naturally, we should all be psychic. So once I got thinking that, I thought, well, yeah, let's finish reading this and see what Jesus says. So I think we did read paragraph 4 last week, but let's, would someone like to read paragraph 4?
I'll read it.
Oh, great. Thank you, Nicole.
Nothing that is genuine is used to deceive. The Holy Spirit is incapable of deception, and he can use only genuine abilities. What is used for magic is useless to him, but what he uses cannot be used for magic. There is, however, a particular appeal in unusual abilities that can be curiously tempting. Here are strengths which the Holy Spirit wants and needs. Yet the ego sees in these same strengths an opportunity to glorify itself. Strengths turned to weakness are tragedy indeed. Yet what is not given to the Holy Spirit must be given to weakness. For what is withheld from love is given to fear and will be fearful in consequence. Oh gosh. It's just occurred to me. I'm having conflict with my daughter at the moment, and it's related to so-called special abilities. Okay, my children have I had them living with me until they were 17, and then they went to live with their father, right? And he still has grievances in relation to me, all right? And he's very critical of me. And they went to live with him and his mother, who's also critical of me. You hear my story here. But it's in related to my so-called special abilities, which aren't special, okay, where I have been as being crazy, that I'm crazy, I'm nuts. I believe all this stuff, spiritual beliefs and stuff, that I'm seen as being invalidating, and because I'm not buying into the whole decisions and choices I made during my parenting, which I thought were really good decisions I made to let go, let God, trust, are being characterized. And I'm in this situation this week. I had an upset yesterday with my daughter where I'm feeling really demonized based on my so-called differences or seeming special or seeming different, unusual stuff that I do, right? So I'm really going to have to focus on this, because remembering that the way it affects, I have been seeing them as unusual. I have been seeing them as people. I've had beliefs and drawn conclusions that other people aren't going to understand. So my perception, and there's this me and other, I need to give that over to the atonement, and makes, I don't know, it's I feel like I'm being judged because of my, the fact that I talk to in so-called invisible persons, or I'm in touch with my guidance, these kind of things, right? And also my Course in Miracles beliefs, that kind of thing, like, well, and also because I've experienced, I'm just going through this illusion of persecution at the moment, and I'm sorry I've digressed so much, but it's funny how we're still on this particular topic. I've had fear of that. I've had fear of non-conforming, right? So maybe I need to look at my world beliefs and my beliefs about the world and trying to fit in. You know what I mean? Anyway, thank you. And I'm sorry I haven't brought much light to this particular paragraph. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. No, now I just started coughing, so I hope I don't cough during this whole thing. But yeah, I have a special relationship with God. People people don't like that. And they like to have their own special relationship with God. And if it doesn't look like mine, then they are not going to be happy. But God speaks to me all through the day. That, according to the world, that is cuckoo. That's some psychic thing that God speaks to me, or that, I hear, it really is just what he's saying here is that the strength that the Holy Spirit wants and needs, it's a strength that the Holy Spirit wants and needs. But we, because of our fear of being judged, or our idea that, somehow or the other it's inappropriate, or, that, you can't hear or know things ahead of time, or think that, somehow or the other, what the outcome of situation is going to be, and so you can avoid the problem or whatever. Or that you can see another person and recognize, oh, they're having a problem about this or that, which I do a lot, and it's something even that with nonviolent communication, we're encouraged to develop a sense of empathy with other people so that we can feel their feelings or know what their feelings are and help them work through their fearful feelings. That is like what I think Jesus is saying. The Holy Spirit wants us to open ourselves like that, to have that experience, and to be able to then help other people out with that the messages that we're getting from the Holy Spirit. I'm thinking also about, like, some of you may have seen or heard Rod Shelberg, who is a doctor, and he had Jesus with him in the emergency room, telling him what was wrong with people and how to fix them, what needed to happen. And, the world would say, that's really cuckoo. But he said, when God asks, answer, say yes. and that's really what I think, Jesus is telling us here. We have this ability to hear the voice and to help be real helpers in this world, but not so that we can do other things with it. It really is just to be truly helpful. Brooklyn has her hand up, and then Glorian has her hand up. Please go ahead, Brooklyn.
Thank you so much for, with who we are. I was just on the phone with a friend of mine, and she doesn't like me giving sermons. I says, that's who I am. Let me start from the beginning. She is she has wet macular degeneration in both eyes now. And I wish I could take the pain away from her. I send her Course in Miracles lessons every day. I'm on the phone with her. And, she says, how can you be so, have joy? You have joy, but I'm suffering. And I've known her for a long time. And I don't feel like, I says, I wish I can help you, and I give suggestions and yeah, but, and I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, and it's really hurting me. Of course, I feel for her. And I step back and let him lead the way. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. But it hurts. It hurts that I can't save her,
Yeah, that's none of your business. I mean, that's not very nice, I know, but honestly, you can't save her, because that's up between her and God. And the only thing that you can do is love her and trust that the Holy Spirit's got everything in charge. God's got everything in charge. And I mean, that's where I fall into, I suffer because I can't. Well, it's not my business. I can't, I mean, I have to keep telling myself that. I can't, if I could take your life away from you so that you didn't have to live your own life, then that wouldn't be fair to you. That's why when we say, well, why doesn't Jesus take this away from us? Because it wouldn't be fair to us if Jesus took it away. I mean, we have to live it. That's what we came here for. So, as I know, there's a lot of people who would love to take away stuff that's happened to me. Everything that's happened to me has been for the best. There's no doubt in my mind. There's never been a mistake, and nothing has ever gone wrong. And it's a beautiful thing. So, Glorian, please, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
This paragraph, the first sentence, nothing that is genuine or natural is used to deceive. And I looked up the word deceive. And believe something that is not true, typically in order to gain some personal advantage. So that's basically describing the ego. The Holy Spirit, the higher self, is incapable of deception, and he can only use genuine abilities, natural abilities, what we are in spirit, which is actually love. What is used for magic is useless to him, because he doesn't see the world of illusion and he's not trying to prove anything in the illusion. But what he uses cannot be used for magic, because it's part of perception, and spirit is not part of perception. It's out of time. There is, however, a particular appeal in unusual abilities that can be curiously tempting. Here the strengths which the Holy Spirit wants and needs. Yet the ego sees in these same strengths the opportunity to glorify itself. And that's the constant struggle between misperception, specialness, comparisons, and the surrender unto the Christ, the Spirit that I am. Strengths turned into weakness are tragedy indeed. So when we give over our natural abilities and are, working within the dream to make a better illusion or whatever, it's a tragedy, because we have this capacity to be truly loving. Yet what is not given to the higher self must be given to weakness, to the ego. For what is withheld from love is given to fear and will be fearful in consequence. So it's just recognizing that we do have a choice of who we're going to serve, ego or the Holy Spirit. And our genuine abilities are natural and not a part of the ego's domain. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that, Glorian. Yeah, this is beautiful. Yes, my goodness, wouldn't we just love to take the suffering away from all the people in the world? You know, wouldn't I like to be, do you ever see a movie that came out a while ago? It's been quite a while, called Powder. And it was about a young man that I think when he was a baby, there was a lightning storm or something. Anyway, he was like white, 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 everything about him. Uh, and they called him Powder because he was so white. But he could take people's pain. He had these abilities, and everybody hated him. They were so afraid of him, because, you know, he had this way of being. And, you know, when I saw that movie, I was like, oh, please, you know, God, can you give me that? Can you help me do that? Because I looked around and saw so many people who were in so much pain. And I would just love to just be able to sit with somebody and hold their hand and you know, help them to not suffer or be in pain. And, you know, again, you know, I kind of longed for that for the longest time, and thinking that would be such a great ability to have. And of course, there's other shows and movies and stories about people who could do that. You know, Jesus, you know, obviously, apparently could do that. And you know, I longed for the way to be able to do it. But the real, you know, after, of course, reading Joel Goldsmith and A Course in Miracles, came to realize really that the way to do that was to actually connect with the Christ in myself and in my brother, and to connect with God in a deep and intense way, which can only be done, well, can only be done, I don't know how other people could do it many other ways, I'm sure, but, you know, meditating, uh, focusing on um, the love, focusing on uh, my purpose, what am I here for, that, you know, I could possibly become that kind of a healer. But then it wouldn't be for the purpose of being a healer. It would be for the purpose of being my true self and the being reality of what I am. And so all the envy that I had of people who could do healing, you know, kind of disappeared when I realized that it wasn't because they had special powers. It was because they dedicated their life and their thinking and their mind and their hearts to connection with their true source. And that, I think, is the true source of healing for all these things: mental, physical, the things in the world. It all comes from that connection with the Holy Spirit. So and that is, I think, what he's saying: what is not given to the Holy Spirit must be given to weakness, for what is withheld from love is given to fear and will be fearful in consequence. So if I don't give it over to the Holy Spirit in love, then I am doing it out of fear. I'm sorry you're suffering. I'm afraid to see you suffer anymore. Um, I'm afraid I might suffer like that too. Whatever. It really is a shift. Glorian, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. When you were speaking, it reminded me this afternoon, John told a story about him and Ken and how they got to this place where there were just no more words. And ultimately they drove home, whatever, without using words. And it was coming to me of how that was a real example of the ark being entered 2 by 2, recognizing the innocence and joining in truth and oneness and purity being without the evaluation of the ego. And how when that's the case, that is the love and that is the creation, and that's agape, that's the Father's, the oneness. So when you were saying that, it just reminded me, and I thought that was a really good example that he gave. And at least that's how it came to me. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story and a beautiful example. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the place where words are not necessary because you are simpatico, that's, yeah, beautiful. And, you know, it's possible we can do that too. Okay, let's look at paragraph 5. Who would like to read paragraph 5?
I'll read it.
Thank you, Rafi.
Even those who no longer value the material things of the world may still be deceived by psychic powers. As investment has been withdrawn from the world's material gifts, the ego has been seriously threatened. It doesn't want to go out of business. It may still be strong enough to rally under this new temptation to win back strength by guile. Many have not seen through the ego's defenses here, although they are not particularly subtle. Yet, given a remaining wish to be deceived, deception is made easy. Now the power is no longer a genuine ability and cannot be used dependably. It is almost inevitable that unless the individual changes his mind about its purpose, he will bolster his powers and certainties with increasing deception.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck that means. Does anybody want to give it a stab?
Well, it's a little like what I was talking about earlier. The ego will come up with all kinds of ways to keep from being annihilated. And deception is a really good one because it'll make you feel like you're doing something right when in fact you're just serving it instead of being true to the oneness being that we all are.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, who are what are these psychic powers that are deceiving people? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are claiming and that I have no reason to believe or not believe, like say Esther Hicks and Abraham. She says there's a whole group of people who are talking to her, and that's where all this information is coming from some other, alien cultures, or Bashar. He is also representing some other ancient, and I mean, there's people that, Jesus is talking to me, the Holy Spirit's talking to me. I'm hearing this and that and the other thing. So, and for me, I don't care. I mean, sure, it makes sense to me, if you're hearing this, all fine by me, but don't tell me what is true or not, because if you can hear somebody telling you the truth in your mind, I can hear somebody telling me the truth in my mind too. So anyway, Glorian, please go ahead.
Yeah, the spiritual power is basically the extension of love, which is creation. The psychic powers are on the realm of thought and on the realm of the mental. So it's distinguishing between the mental and the spiritual.
So what would the difference be? I really, would you clarify that?
Yes, the
Thank you.
mental is part of perception. So basically, we go from ego to true perception, but this is all still on the level of perception. So basically, if we get a psychic picture of something that's going to happen in the world, it's still an aspect of the mental. When we move from beyond the mental into the spiritual, then that is the extension of the love of God, which is creation. So it's distinguishing between stuff that goes on in the mental and the actual gifts that we have as the Spirit of God in extending his love.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Glorian. Rafi has his hand up, and then also Nicole.
In the book Autobiography of a Yoga, they tell a story about this man who had evolved spiritually to the point where he could perform all kinds of miracles. He would have plates of food drop out of the sky and feed all kinds of people. He would have all of these, and he did that to impress everybody. So he started to use these gifts of, we are infinite, we are all powerful. He started to use these things in ways that were egoic. Look what I can do. Look, aren't you impressed by this? Look at I can. And it finally wound up biting them in the ass, so to speak. When the ego, it just turned on him, and then after a while, everything was collapsing around him. He finally got it. Oh my God, I've been using all of these fantastic gifts that I had and serving egoity rather than using it to reach the realization to what you people call atonement or self-realization or freedom. And so I thought he was a perfect example of that. And this, to me, this section here, 5, speaks of that very clearly.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of that too. And I mean, here's a really good example of that, as I know so many people who have in the past went to see a guy down in Brazil named John of God. And I don't know if any of you ever heard of him or saw anything about him, but he was, like there was like thousands and thousands of people and getting all miraculous healings and all that kind of stuff. And, then when it all started falling apart, they began to recognize there was a lot of chicanery going on, and that, that a lot of things was being claimed that never happened. And it was just like the whole show. But in the meantime, he made a lot of money. I mean, I had a friend who spent, in fact, I've had several friends who spent thousands and thousands of dollars going to Brazil for healing from John of God, and came back in the same miserable state they were when they left. And it's just a very sad thing to me. Not, I mean, not because of that, but because their faith, if they had just stayed home, they could have actually got a real healing by changing their mind. This is my opinion. I don't know for sure. I don't know anything really, but it would, anyway, just some thoughts about that. That there is a lot of that going on in the world. Nicole, please go ahead.
I know that when I first started getting in touch with abilities I had, like during the 90s, intuition stuff, like I squandered and misused it. Like I used it, for example, there's a thing we call street sense, for example, tuning into other people's state of minds, into their scripts, that kind of thing. Street sense I use. Police apparently have very good street sense too. They're able to read into people's fear and pick up, like tune in, because we're one. Another example would be I have this amazing ability to predict what's going to happen watching a TV show or a movie, because I somehow managed to tune into the writer, into the script writer, and I know what's going to happen. Like, I mean, this is like stuff to do with form. This is ego stuff. And I have, or like when I was a kid, for example, playing Wheel of Fortune or playing, memory or things like that, like using my magic eye or whatever. This is like where the ego can use gifts. Is it wrong? It's not wrong, but it's like where we can use these gifts that are natural abilities for purposes that are not of the spirit or of the Holy Spirit. So, and I like the reminder here about giving these to the Holy Spirit, because we can use these things for ego. Thank you.
Yeah, I've had that same kind of experience as Nicole. But that's I was not being naughty. Anyway, Myrna, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is very telling. And what Rafi said, I like, go along those lines that, that we all want to withdraw from the ego. And so once that, there are people that have withdrawn by giving up all material things, but maybe they now, because they are, have given up the ego, have developed certain psychic powers, but the ego is is seriously threatened, And like Rafi said, the ego doesn't want to go out of business. You know, it doesn't like that idea. So it fights hard to stay within that, you know, stay within the concept of truth when it really isn't. I mean, it's just the ego is now using guile, okay, in order to keep itself going. And the person who is using this guile, thinking that they may still have the psychic powers, have lost it. They've lost it because they haven't seen through it. And that's where people are being deceived, thinking that that person still has those powers, but those powers have really been taken away. So it's no longer an ability because it doesn't exist. The ego is back in business. So, you know, and that's really what the, you know, I think what's going on in that respect. So.
Yeah. And you know, you make me think of, you know, I was just thinking about, there are a lot of people who have these abilities and who use them all the time. And marketers, people who are, you know, developing products or figuring out ways to, you know, get you to to buy their land or their, you know, people use all sorts of chicanery. I like that word, chicanery, to to manipulate people. You know, and I guess because we all have this. We all have this, and if you are lucky enough to have being open-minded enough or whatever to allow it and not be afraid of it and to use it, then yeah, you can use it to manipulate and do all sorts of things with people. And you know, people come out on the other end going, what happened? I don't know how that happened. And well, you know, why why did I do this, or why did I say that, or you know, and because they've been manipulated through, you know, it may not be even actually psychic power, it might be psychological, but it's the same thing. What's the difference, huh? You know, I don't know. Anyway, Nicole, please go ahead.
Oh, that's so true. It's like you know, there used to be a show on TV. Like you have some of these shows where they have these people like the Mentalist, for example, or the original like Criminal Minds guy or whatever, that are able to, you know, like tune into motives or use their these gifts towards these areas, and the old bullshit detector, like that's been a big one for me. I used to use, and I used to call it my bullshit detector, right? You know, but this is like the ego's thing. This is like in order to get what I want and to get my needs met, or to, you know, all coming from suspicion and fear and separation and all that kind of thing. It's definitely used, you know, these can be used by the ego. And like, yeah, ego.
When you brought up bullshit detector, first thing I thought about was Teddy. And I was thinking, yeah, you know, he did that. Seriously, he would psych you out. And I think he might have learned that from the master teacher. I'm not sure. But he had a way of kind of seeing the cracks in your argument, of seeing the cracks in your, what would, you know, really do something to you. And then he would use that to, you know, manipulate you. And me, not you, I don't know. But but you know, once I recognized that was what was happening, I realized, well, geez, you know, that's I don't have to let that happen, because you know, this person, you know, too, can play at that game. And you know, not that I became a manipulator any more than I ever had been, because you know, I recognize I've always been a manipulator since, you know, the time I was a small child. I think we all have to some extent. So there's nothing to be ashamed of or anything. It's not even anything to worry about. It's just, you know, that's survival in the world. And, you know, a lot of times people develop these kind of abilities. in order to protect themselves. And you know, I mean, I know if I walk into a place and there is a bad man, you know, he may not be looking at me or looking, you know, or anything, but I might get a vibe. Oh, this is not somebody I want to, you know, go home with, or, you know, be alone with, or whatever. You know, that's a thing that, you know, it's, you know, it's a gift. And there's been times that I've said, well, that's silly, and not listened to it, and ended up, you know, having a unhappy experience with somebody because they lived up to what my first initial psychic picture of them was. And so, you know, there's nothing, I mean, I think it's real important, or you survival, really, to have and listen to this you know, other voice, or, you know, whatever your instinct. You know, is that a psychic power, or is that just, you know, we're connected, and you know, I can hear what you're thinking, or I know what you're thinking. I don't know. But um anyway, that's a lot of words about a lot of different things that may or may not have, um but you know what I mean. That's I know you, I know everybody here knows what that means. When you're around somebody that is, you know, likely to do you wrong, you get a feeling about it. And most of the time we just don't pay attention, or we say, nah, he's a friend of my brother's, or this is a nice person, you know, I met them at church, or whatever. The mind will tell you no, but you know. So there's also good reason for us, forewarned is forearmed. Anyway, let's read this last paragraph here and get done with this section so we can go to the next section, which is really mind-blowing. And I will read this one. So paragraph 6 of section 25 of the Manual for Teachers, are psychic powers desirable? Any ability that anyone develops has the potentiality for good. To this, there is no exception. And the more unusual and unexpected the power, the greater its potential usefulness. Salvation has need of all abilities, for what the world would destroy, the Holy Spirit would restore. Quote, psychic, unquote, abilities have been used to call upon the devil, which merely means to strengthen the ego. Yet there is also a great channel of hope and healing in the Holy Spirit's service. Those who have developed psychic powers have simply let some of the limitations they laid upon their minds be lifted. It can be but further limitations they lay upon themselves if they utilize their increased freedom for greater imprisonment. The Holy Spirit needs these gifts, and those who offer them to him and him alone go with Christ's gratitude upon their hearts and his holy sight not far behind. Wow. Wow, oh wow, oh wow. What I hear Jesus saying here is that if we can open our minds and allow these abilities to form in us, allow these abilities to grow and strengthen in us, and use them for healing in the Holy Spirit's service, then we will be, the Holy Spirit needs us to do that. And he needs us to offer that to him and him alone. And with Christ's gratitude upon our hearts and his holy sight not far behind. Those last words in that sentence, his holy sight not far behind. This is my dearest prayer, to have Christ vision, to see with the eyes of Christ, to experience my brothers with the mind of Christ, and to experience myself with the mind of Christ. That's what that's my dearest hope. And so if to experience that, to know that, to have that, Jesus is asking me to open myself up and let myself be used to be communication, which is what he's told us, the body is a communication device. If I open my heart and mind, my being, in order to allow this psychic ability to live and grow in me, and use it only for the gifts of the Spirit, then the sight of Christ is there for me. It's not far behind. That is huge to me. And I'm wondering if anybody else has any thoughts about that.
I'm
So I guess-
loving the ending, this section. I'm loving the ending that he's saying. It's just beautiful. And I'm going to stop because I absolutely loved what Cindy wrote. Yes, Lord, make me an instrument. Mwah.
That's it. Yeah. Cindy, did you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to say, it really is, what is this for? What is my intention here? And as with everything we think or do or whatever, is a good question to ask ourselves. Is for my own benefit of truth and God and, you know, all that good stuff that we all believe in. That's all I wanted to say. It just comes down for me. It's like, am I using it for love or for my own self-interest? And I will get the answer.
Thank you, Cindy. Rafi, please go ahead.
Larry Crane, an instructor in the release technique, always used to teach, he said, love yourself and let the world have it your way. And if you do that from a point of view of honesty and integrity, you're honestly loving yourself and the self. And everything in this dream falls into place for you beautifully. If you just accept that and be grateful for it and keep your focus on atonement or realization, then that's fine. But as soon as you get caught up in, look what I did, look what I can do, look what I did, then you're right back at the ego and you're caught up in that trap again. And that's you know, I've seen it happen. It happened to me once, and I went, nah, I'm not taking credit for this. This is not me, but the Father that worketh through me. Let me get back to, you know, focusing on what's real and get away from this, look what I did. Because there ain't no I did. That's ego.
Yes, thank you, Rafi. Exactly. And exactly. Go ahead, Brooklyn.
I have a story to tell that fits perfectly with this. When I was 14, I have this ring is I got when I was 11 years old. So it's a few years old. And I grew up in a pretty tough neighborhood. And there was these two girls came over and said, one of them said, "Oh, can I see your ring?" And duh. I says, "Here." And she says, "Thank you." And I said, "Oh no, that's important to me." And I had a cheap ring on my pinky, and I saw she had a cheap ring on her pinky. I says, "How about if I trade you this for your ring?" And she said, "Really?" That I consider that a psychic power, to be able to connect, to be led by Holy Spirit. It was the same thing. I share the story of the peanut butter cups when this guy pretended to be deaf, and then he came over and says, these crackers are stale. And I said, "I'm sorry." I didn't say anything about him pretending to be deaf or anything. "I'm sorry." And he says, "I bet you got them from a supermarket. The people who work there, they take all the good stuff and leave the rest for us." The connection there, that I believe that we get it when we need it, but well, I get it when, I need it, but I really never thought of it anything out of the ordinary, except when I took mescaline, my friend, and I saw all the beautiful stuff, and I saw a one-eyed monster, and there was a one-eyed monster in her past that she never told me about. So, but well, this is for me. I don't have psychic powers that I can talk about, but I love when they happen like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Brooklyn. And full disclosure, when I was younger, I used to, in fact, one of the very first things that happened to me in my kind of psychic life, I guess, was that I was walking down the street one day and I heard music that I really liked coming from somebody's house. And so I was like 16 and I was just so free-minded, free-spirited. I went right up and knocked on their door and there were people that lived there, two ladies and a gentleman, and they were witches. And I did not know that, but and they said, "Oh, good, you're finally here. We've been waiting for you." They literally said that to me. "We've been waiting for you." And I came in, and the first thing they did was sit me down at the table and start teaching me how to read tarot cards. So they're like, "Here's this," and they bring out this tarot deck and they start telling me the meanings of all these cards. And I used to go there every day and practice reading tarot cards. I was very good at it. And, I could tell people things. I knew about things. These cards became like I don't even know, they became like a part of me, the cards. And so, yes, I read tarot cards. I could read regular playing cards. I learned how to read tea leaves. I learned how to, read a crystal ball. They, they had all these implements and they taught me all these different things. And it was, pretty amazing for me. I was like 16. But it really got me a like entree into a lot of stuff because, at parties and things, people would really love it when you'd pull out the cards and start telling them things about themselves and their lives. And, and it was, like I said, I was really good at it. It was like, I would be right on with so many things. And it did become a real thing for me. But, after a while, I didn't really like it so much anymore because that's really all people wanted from me. But I could do it now. It's real simple just to look at them and you see a picture in your mind and you know what's going on and you can say something about it. Yeah, I guess I have psychic abilities, but I gave them up for another thing. So anyway, yeah. Oh man, I was good at it. Like I said, people would bring people over. "Oh, this person's having a problem. Can you help them out?" Sure I could, because it wasn't me. That's the thing. It wasn't me doing anything. I was just laying out the cards and looking at the cards, and the cards were telling me what was happening, what to do, what to think. So anyhow, anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
So I'd like to share something. The only because I got into all the metaphysical stuff years ago, and all it brought to me was a realization that it was all about my self-centeredness. And so I stepped away from all that and really just actually I got back into fundamental Christianity because it was simpler to me. And then the Course came along, and I just feel like the Course is enough for me. I have explored all the different branches and the different teachers and what their extra thing, you know, and it's kind of like all just extra choices I have. And for whether I'm serving God or myself, you know, my self-centeredness. And I just want it to be simple and clear, you know, that what I am doing day in and day out is really serving God. And when I listen to different channelings of Jesus, they all had a different account of his life on earth. And I just went, well, that was mind-boggling to me. That really threw me off. And so I also had to step away from that you know, category of psychic readers and things like that, because it just brought confusion to me. And I realized that, okay, I can just let this go. I don't have to get tripped up on it. So I think for me, with, you know, exploring the psychic abilities or whatever, I would rather just kind of be true blue to the course, because it's simple. Anyway, that's all I have to share.
Yeah, it is simple. I like I like the simplicity too. So
Do you have any thoughts on that? How these psychics have all these different accounts?
yeah, I do. And you know, because I believe that that this illusion, this story has many storylines. And you know, there's every single one of them has Jesus in it at some capacity. Every single one of them has you know, everything. Who I am, I'm in, you know, thousands, millions of different timelines as me in some other capacity. And it's almost like that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, or I even think more like
What?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, whereupon there's a Spider-Man in every layer of the illusion, every timeline. Loki, the god of mischief. In Loki, there's a Loki in every timeline, and they're all different. There's a timeline where Loki is a turtle. There's a timeline where there's many timelines where Loki is, you know, women and all different kinds of things. And I think that's what it is. It's, you know, whatever timeline you happen to be in, that's the Jesus that's there. And because then how are so many people St. Thomas? I was St. Thomas in a former life. I was an apostle in a former life. How could you have been that when there was only like 12 of them, or, you know, there's only one of him? Well, it's because there's multiverses. It's not just one single timeline. That's what I think. Nicole, what do you think? Yeah, unmute yourself.
I think maybe those multiverses actually relate to the lenses through which we perceive and our perspectives, because the lenses through which we see change everything. It's like this situation I've been having with my daughter in regards to her recount of her childhood and my parenting compared with mine, right? Okay. Or if you just use the example of when we look back at things that have happened in our so-called past, in the past, our so-called memory, which is just an illusion, it's a dream, it's fake. We can do these passes of a situation, go off into our mind, we go down the rabbit hole, and we'll go and do this loop of a situation that has this version of events. Then we can go on the other hand and we go into a new lens and do another pass, and that's a completely another story or recount altogether. And then we can go and do it again and do another pass, and we've got now a completely, totally different recount and version of an event again. And it's the lenses that shift. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think you're probably right too. I think because there's only one of us, and it's our projection. This whole universe is our projection. So it is whatever lens we're projecting it through is what kind of a movie we're watching. Anybody else? Brooklyn, please go ahead.
I love this group. Wow. I read this poem once, forgive me if you've heard it, but this goes along with what we've been talking about. Separate forms on roads, so many, all experience felt together. In frequencies, love, our lights, our rainbows, in flow with each and every you. Trust is breath, patterns unravel. Vision clears in frequencies, love. I'm so glad I'm in this universe right now.
Exactly. And we're all here together like
Thank
this.
God, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're all together somewhere else too. We're all together everywhere. So every story, every path, every way. We are always together. We are the one. We are the one we've been looking for.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I think our time is up. I think we finally, I think, got to what our psychic powers desirable through. And next week, we're going to talk about, can God be reached directly? And I think honestly that is I mean, that's the whole purpose of all this, is to reach God directly. And, then once we're in complete contact with our Father, then, everything is hunky-dory. And Audrey, I love your screen there. That is so cool. You have to show me how you did that. All right, you guys, I love you all so very much. Mute yourselves and say bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. It was great
Hey,
listening. Thank you
Hey,
so
Regis,
much.
I gotta talk to you about that shirt, man.
All right.
Let me see the shirt. Let me see it. What's it
No,
got?
this is not it. That's
Oh,
not it.
okay, another
Money
shirt.
had
All
on
right.
the other day, the music shirt.
Okay. All right, you guys.
You were looking very cool last week, I tell you. Regis. See you later.
It's always cool.
Big hugs.
Regis,
Big hugs, you guys. I love you all.
I love you guys. Stay
Good
tuned.
night. Bye.
Bye.